Hi, I'm Ludic Ryan. Today I'd like to talk about Rocket League as one of the most expressive video games of the last few years. Play is a fundamentally expressive phenomenon, and Rocket League provides a platform of many possibilities for the player to express their personality and idiosyncrasies through movement of the car. Part of Rocket League's enduring appeal is how play is continually evolving in the years since its release. There are a couple of factors for this which will be explored here, but first we'll talk about identity and how Rocket League contains no pre-scripted characters. This creates a tabula rasa state into which the player's performance creates a persona defined by mechanical expression. This will be contrasted with examples which contain pre-scripted characters that the player embodies. Building from this requirement of player characterization through performance, we'll talk about the openness of the simple movement affordances and how they structure many possibilities within the system. Through a surprisingly similar example, we can observe likenesses between the movement systems of Rocket League and a non-digital example. The identification process in games has been discussed before in this channel in relation to the autobiographical game Cibele. In that case, there was a real-life identity that complicated the embodiment process of the player. In the case of Rocket League, the opposite is true, where the embodiment of the player into the avatars in the game is free from any characterization. Christine Jorgensen discusses this in relation to Mass Effect 2 and Dragon Age Origins, where in the former, there is a pre-scripted identity in the form of Commander Shepard. In the latter, the player freely inhabits the blank slate identity of the Warden. Jorgensen notes that while characters with independent personality establishes a relationship to the player based on embodiment, goal sharing and empathy, tabula rasa create greater opportunity for bleed since there are few indications that the player character's inner life needs to be different from the player's. The bleed effect which Jorgensen refers to here indicates the degree to which the player's real identity and the role they are playing overlap. With a tabula rasa character, the player is free to embody and control that avatar with a greater degree of expression. With characterization in games, the identity of the character is accompanied by some level of expertise in the actions taken throughout. Though abstracted by the system, Red in Transistor is an accomplished singer, Aloy in Horizon Zero Dawn is an expert archer, and Evie Fry in Assassin's Creed Syndicate is an accomplished freerunner and stabber of people. When we, as players, press the respective button of a character's affordance, there is a mechanical acuity which stands in for the relative skill imbalance between player and character. The skill of the character stands in for our lack of mechanical expertise in that field. Just as the cars in Rocket League do not possess any aesthetic or embedded characterization outside of what the player has decided, so too are the cars free from any performative expertise. They require the mechanical expertise of the player. Whilst each car is slightly different in terms of turning speed and hitbox size, the cars await the performative expression of the player, and an identity is formed through the appropriation of the cars. Movement in Rocket League expands upon traditional understandings of how cars operate. Whilst tethered to the ground, the cars can accelerate, reverse, turn left and right, they can apply the handbrake, and they can use boost to go faster. This mimics movesets found in other racing games, however the cars in Rocket League are augmented with other special movement affordances. They can drive on walls, they can jump, double jump, forward flip, half flip backwards, and fly when the boost button is feathered. There also exists the wave dash movement affordance, which is linked intertextually to the Smash series of games. In and of itself, this moveset affords a great array of expressive possibilities, but they are contextualized and given meaning by other factors of the game. The large rectangular arena in which play occurs makes each facet of the moveset important. If we look at other racing games like Grid Autosport or Dirt Rally, the linearity of the track and the importance of moving quickly through it devalues the ability to reverse. The form of the level dictates the necessity of particular movement affordances. Though these games aspire to a certain verisimilitude towards the experience of driving a car, the structure of the level suggests the importance of some affordances over others. Because of the arena structure of Rocket League where the player is required to move in a non-linear fashion, each aspect of the moveset is valid as a performative option. It then remains to discuss what the movement affordances are directed towards and affected by. The objective in the standard format of Rocket League is to place the ball in the net of your opponent. If play is directed towards this objective, then all actualizations of the moveset are directed towards it and informed by this intention. Taking the empty space of the arena and placing the player character within it may give rise to balletic movements, but it is without purpose and can manifest as a limitless set of possibilities. Expression flourishes under constraint, and placing an objective upon play focuses and directs the creative faculties of the player to solve the problem. In light of this, there is an interesting contrast to note between the realization of objectives in Dirt Rally and Rocket League. In the former, there is an optimal way to approach this corner. That was not it. In approaching the opponent's goal in Rocket League, however, the player might ball carry to the final third and then attempt a flick or air dribble, or ignore the ball entirely and demo their opponent. There are very few ways that the player might ideally tackle the objective in Dirt Rally, whereas in Rocket League the objective format is open to experimentation and mechanical expression. In addition to playing towards the objective, the player must account for the movements of their opponents and consider this within their decision-making process. What results is a form of expression that comes from the mechanical dexterity of the player, directed towards an objective and framed in light of an opposing player's movements. If a player's attack on the objective fails and their opponent is bearing down on their goal, there are myriad ways that the situation can be approached. A half flip might orient the player's car towards the attacking play, whereas if they find themselves on the wall when the attack fails, they may try a wave dash to build up speed so that they can intercept quicker. The expression afforded in Rocket League is comparable to chess. This realization is made more interesting since the rules which govern their systems are similarly presented. The majority of the rules in chess dictate how pieces are allowed to move and the objective for players. Expression is found in how players maneuver their pieces against their opponent's strategies. By just observing the movements of a player within the context of the game, we can see how they might be cautious, defensive, bold, or reactive. Because of their expressive movement systems, chess and Rocket League lend themselves to the free construction of a player identity within the game. We can see this in Rocket League, where players like Cookseer and Scrubkiller are defined by their pristine defensive displays in goal, based in sublime reflexes and reactive approaches. Players like Fairy Pete can launch devastating flicks from dribbling positions by feathering the acceleration to maintain ideal ball placement on top of the car. Every part of Rocket League combines to deliver an expressive experience. The moveset contains basic movements that can be actualized on the X, Y, and Z axes. The arena structure validates the importance of a varied moveset. The objective focuses on the player's mechanical dexterity, and the opposing player provides a foil against which playstyles can be tested. That the car in Rocket League is an empty vessel is important so that the player may construct an identity through the expressiveness of their play. Thank you so much for watching. There's so much to talk about in terms of the evolution of movement and play in Rocket League, so I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. You can find links to my previous videos on Hollow Knight and Cibele in the video description. They look at explorative play and identity dissonance respectively. If you'd like to be notified when my next video releases, then click on the subscribe button.